today's Ben Garcia show, the Arizona Cardinals are trying to hire a new offensive coordinator, you would hope. Plus, Drew Petzing keeps lying. He just keeps on lying. And the Phoenix Suns are separating from the rest of the NBA. And I'll explain to you why, how, next on this edition of Ben Garcia Show.
The Ben Garcia Show. Yeah. Woo. Best show in the land. Yup. Listen. Come and get your information from Ben Garcia. Get the latest on your quarterback, running backs, and receivers. Tune in, so any other show you don't need them. Any news that he giving out, please just believe him. Giving out the latest prediction and top-notch analysis. Wanna hear the truth, better have thick skin like callus. The latest move that your team just made can be damaging. The dudes ain't speaking no facts, they just be rambling. Lights, camera, action, turn on the show, go get the cameraman. Yeah. Lights, camera, action, turn on the show, go get the cameraman. The Ben Garcia Show.
What is up, guys? Welcome into yet another edition of the Ben Garcia Show. Appreciate you guys being here. However you are listening, wherever you are listening, thank you for making myself and this show a part of your day. Do me a favor, hit that like, share, subscribe button. Follow me on all social media platforms at Ben Garcia Show. It is a rather busy Wednesday today on the Ben Garcia Show, so I will not waste any of your time. We will jump right into it. Appreciate my guy Saul, Brian, both being in the chat this morning. I'd be surprised if Michael wasn't here, but he's not this morning. Appreciate you guys being here. However, reminder, in the chat, I will take all of your questions, comments, concerns at the end of the show. So be ready for that at the end of the show. If you have a comment, if you have a question, if you have a concern, I'll go through the entirety of the chat and talk about that at the end of the show. Okay. Let's start with the Arizona Cardinals this morning, shall we? Because even though a team that is 3-6 and flailing at the bottom of the division and just downright awful this year and is yet another example of getting your hopes up in Arizona sports just for a team to have you let them down. So yesterday, I back up even further. Forget yesterday. At about week 4, after the Arizona Cardinals lost to the Seattle Seahawks, I said you got to fire Drew Petzing. And the reason why I said that is because the offense continued to look anemic. The Cardinals season was quickly spiraling down the drain at 2-2. And if you were myself, you looked at that team and you said, oh, this team's going to have some issues. It's time to start evaluating that now and not later. One of the things I pride myself on, and I continue to tell you guys, is I see around corners fairly often, and I think pretty well. And one of the reasons why I was so quick with the trigger finger of Drew Petzing, and I wasn't special to this, many of you said the same, was, well, I can see what's going to happen. This team is about to spiral down the drain fast. And spiral down the drain they did. They would go on to lose 3 more consecutive games against the Titans, Colts, Packers, and without even Kyler Murray, they still couldn't even figure it out. So although we like to blame Kyler for some stuff, me as well, it's obvious he wasn't every bit of the problem. And yesterday was really frustrating. Now, let me just say this. I don't care as someone. The reasoning why I don't go to a lot of press conferences, and I had a friend tell me this yesterday, or not yesterday, a couple of days ago for the Suns. I think I can share this. My guy Shane was like, hey, how come you don't go to the press conferences after games, after Suns games? I was like, well, 1, I have to do a show right after for Locked On Phoenix Suns. And 2, I just don't really care what people say in press conferences. I'm not a fan of asking a question that I think is very special to my niche or taking my opinion. I'm not interested in that. I don't want people to take my angle. And I ask that question, and oftentimes Gannon or Jordan Ott won't give me the answer I want. So why would I want to be in there? It's just a waste of my time. There's nothing Grayson Allen or Royce O'Neal or Devin Booker can say to change my angle on a show. And so this is what the problem is with the Arizona Cardinals, especially right now, especially for the media that is there every single day taking questions, comments, and concerns from Jonathan Gannon and Drew Petzing. They continuously just kind of run their mouth. They continuously just kind of talk. And most of the time, it's nothing. And yesterday was another clear example of that. You can get cute like Bruce Arians used to do in the press conferences and even curse at the media or literally tell them that you're lying to them right in front of them. You can get really cute with pressers if you're Bruce Arians or a head coach that is consistently winning. And no one cared. No one gave a damn what Bruce Arians said in press conferences. But when you're losing, and when you're losing in the way that the Arizona Cardinals are losing, it changes everything. And so when we can clearly see the regression in the offensive line, and the Arizona Cardinals and Drew Petzing as a whole tries to tell you that's not true, it's what changes my opinion from maybe the Cardinals shouldn't fire Drew Petzing to, yeah, get this guy the hell out of here. So at the beginning of the season, I was fired Drew Petzing. You got to spark this offense. I wasn't ready to say that it was all Kyler because Kyler had played really, really well in that Seattle Seahawks game in the second half. And I said maybe they could figure something out, but the play calling has got to go. And then, of course, Kyler gets hurt. Jacoby Brissett comes in, and the offense looks really functional for a couple of games. And then the Seattle Seahawks game came and went. Jacoby Brissett is handing the ball off to Bam Knight on the 1 yard line instead of sneaking it in. They're running reverses and jet sweeps on 3rd and 8 to Greg Dortch. And you finally say to yourself, okay, some of it might have been Kyler, but some of it is also Drew Petzing. And we've heard Kurt Warner. We've heard Jamil Douglas on our show, Locked On Cardinals Squad Show. We've heard a lot of people who have played in the NFL. Marvin Harrison Sr., which I didn't agree with, but he came out and said the offense looks bad, anemic, predictable, and just not fun. And so, finally, I'm saying to myself, I think you do just have to move on from Drew Petzing. And part of it has to do because of what happened yesterday. You do not need to be an expert. And as I look down in the chat, Brian, Saul, both of these guys who are people who are probably have full-time jobs, very busy, enjoy watching sports, and they come to someone like myself to hear my opinion. And they could watch games and say to you, just at the bare minimum, the Arizona Cardinals offensive line is worse than it was last year. And that's not even getting into the nitty-gritty. Jonah Williams stinks. Evan Brown, Isaiah Adams have been not great projects at right guard. And you could say to yourself very clearly, oh, yeah. The Cardinals' offensive line is worse than it was last year. Well, not to Drew Petzing. Take a listen.
I wouldn't say that. I think they're playing hard. I think we've played some really good fronts. I think the communication has been good. I think at times, you're losing one-on-ones in critical situations, which is hurting us. And certainly we need to evaluate how and why that's happening and try to clean that up. But I think those guys play extremely hard. I think they play well together. I think they're doing everything they can to win games.
I don't know how you can listen to that and say to yourself, Drew Petzing should be back for another year. I don't know how you can sit there and listen to Drew Petzing try to tell you the offensive line is the same as it was last year. He's seen no drop-off and bring that guy back. You can win a lot of games and say whatever you want in press conferences. Bruce Arians going 11-5 or 10-6 or 1 year 13-3 could fart into the microphone during press conferences, and no one would care. I had my guy, Mr. AZ Sports, mustache guy, does like a lot of the food stuff. He reached out to me one time because he didn't like my take, I believe, on press conferences, and we went back and forth on direct message, all respectful. Neither of us were mad at each other, but I think he leans more on the fan side. I'm a little bit more on the opinion side. And he told me he didn't like the way press conferences were run. And I had said to him, I don't care. Jonathan Gannon could fart into the microphone, Say that I'm the starting quarterback. I don't care. If they're winning games, I don't care. I take nothing coaches say seriously at press conferences because they have everything to lose and nothing to gain from them. But you can't downright lie to fans, media members, and people like myself who are somewhere in the middle and expect us to believe that bull crap. And so here's the Cardinals' offensive line Pro Football Focus rankings per Teo Mackey, who got these from Pro Football Focus. In 2024, the Cardinals were 4th in pass blocking and 14th in run blocking. In 2025, the Cardinals' pass blocking is now 25th, and the run blocking is now 27th. They virtually have no run game like they had in years past, and Jacoby Brissett or Kyler Murray cannot sit there and pick apart opposing defenses because one Mississippi couldn't even get to 2 Mississippi. They're gone. It's time for a change in the offensive coordinator position. At the beginning of the season, I called for Drew Petzing's job. At the beginning of the season, I called for Drew Petzing's job because the offense was anemic. I could see around corners and tell you this was only going to get worse, not better. And then Jacoby Brissett jumped into the fold. And you said to yourself, well, maybe we were a little bit hard on Drew Petzing. And a lot of it was just on Kyler. Now, I still think a lot of it is on Kyler, but a lot of it is also on Drew Petzing. The play calling against the Seattle Seahawks, handing the ball off to Bam Knight on the 1-yard line when you could have just quarterback sneaked it. Jet sweeps on 3rd and 8 to Greg Dortch. I'm over it. Thankfully for the Arizona Cardinals, Brian Daboll was just fired by the New York Giants. Brian Daboll should be the Cardinals' number 1 offensive coordinator choice as of right now. In his final year in Buffalo in 2021, they were 3rd in points scored and 5th in most yards accumulated during a game. He might not be a head coach. A lot of guys aren't. Cliff Kingsbury might not be a head coach. He's a good OC apparently. Brian Daboll might just be more of a coordinator than he is a head coach. Maybe if he just focuses on one side of the ball, he could figure it out. Now, there's also a direct connection between those two. Monty Ossenfort and Brian Daboll have been on the same staff at the same time before. And Brian Daboll could help open up this offense. This offense is not that far away. Whether they go and draft a guy or they let Jacoby Brissett run the show, it's not that far away. Brian Daboll, according to my guy Jamil Douglas, he likes his tight ends. According to, and the Cardinals have a surplus of weapons. Marvin Harrison Jr., Trey McBride. Who knows what they're going to find at the running back position next year, but that's one of the easiest things to find. You hand Brian Daboll this offense, I think it will get better immediately. Now, they've still got to fix things on the offensive line, whether that's drafting a right tackle with your 1st-round pick, maybe 2nd-round pick, signing someone to that position. But I do think that the meat of the Cardinals' offense is there. And with a competent offensive coordinator, it can get fixed in an instant. Now, it doesn't mean they're going to go to Super Bowl contenders. They still need some sort of quarterback to be able to help them out to get there. But at the end of the day, this is what they need first. A rejuvenation at the offensive coordinator spot. And Drew Petzing is too timid. Drew Petzing's offenses are not creative enough. And you hand someone like Jacoby Brissett to Brian Daboll or a rookie quarterback, tall, big arm, strong kid, on time, accurate, nothing more, nothing less, with the weapons of Marvin Harrison Jr., Trey McBride, Michael Wilson. Running back spot, you draft someone very easy to fix. You have your left tackle. That is what could elevate the Arizona Cardinals offense. Now listen, this is the first guy fired. Maybe someone else becomes available and you go get them. And that would be interesting as well. And I think that could open up the Cardinals offense a ton. Here's the other one. This came out yesterday of The Athletic. This came out yesterday of The Athletic. Matt LaFleur. So, yeah, I want to make sure I have that. Yes, right here in my notes. Yesterday, from The Athletic, they reported Matt LaFleur could be coaching for his job the rest of the season. Which Packers take really quickly, which leads me to believe Jordan Love is not the problem, not Matt LaFleur. Oftentimes when people talk about the play calling a ton, it's like, maybe you don't have the right quarterback. That's what changed the Drew Petzing thing for a while. Oh, the play calling's terrible, or Kyler Murray's just, trying to check it down every play. If Matt LaFleur became available to the Arizona Cardinals, you would have to fire Jonathan Gannon and bring Matt LaFleur into the fold. We mentioned on Monday, Jonathan Gannon is a good head coach. You can't convince me he's not a very solid head coach. But maybe that means he's a B- head coach in a division with a bunch of A+. Now, I don't know if Matt LaFleur is to the likes of Kyle Shanahan or Sean McVay offensively, but I'll say this. He's an A head coach. And if he became available on the open market, that would change everything for the Arizona Cardinals. Now, would Michael Bidwell open up the checkbook for Matt LaFleur? I highly doubt it. A lot of this is just speaking in hyperbole and just pure thought speculation. But if Matt LaFleur became available to the NFL public, you fire Jonathan Gannon yesterday and you bring Matt LaFleur into the fold. Not because Jonathan Gannon is a bad head coach, but because Matt LaFleur would elevate this team to the likes of Kyle Shanahan and Mike McDonald and Sean McVay in this division. And in a division loaded with coaching talent, it's not a Jonathan Gannon thing. It's a Matt LaFleur is just better than you think. And then what better to do when you're what better thing to do when you're drafting your next quarterback, either this year or next year, to hand to Matt LaFleur, who's a creative play designer, who can scheme things open and make things easier on your quarterback, and that quarterback and Matt LaFleur can grow together for years to come. Similar to Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Zach Taylor, Joe Burrow, Sean McVay, Matt Stafford, Lamar Jackson, John Harbaugh. Continuity matters. And having a coach on the same side of the ball as you matters. So again, it's not me going after Jonathan Gannon. He's built a great culture. The players like him. He got an A+ grade on the players report card last season. It's not a Jonathan Gannon stinks. It's a, is he good enough to compete in the NFC West? And if Matt LaFleur truly is on the hot seat and became available to the Arizona Cardinals, that would change everything. Would the Cardinals do it is a totally different question. Would Michael Bidwell open up the checkbook? Again, totally different question. The answer is just, or the question is just, should you go do it? And the answer is yes. For the future quarterback play, for the stability in the division coaching-wise against other A+ head coaches, and for a guy that you know has won games, been to the playoffs, won divisions before, he's good enough. And I would do it. It's not like Jonathan Gannon is, holding on to the Arizona Cardinals job with a monkey grip. He could be gone in an instant. And so I think that's a possible scenario for the Arizona Cardinals to go next. I apologize, guys. I'm definitely a little sick this morning, as I'm sure we all are at this point in the year. So got to make sure I'm not sniffing into the microphone. Want to be somewhat of a professional here. Okay. Reminder, I'll take your guys' questions at the end, and I'm here Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 8 a.m. talking all things Arizona sports. At the end of the show, I'll take you guys' stuff. Or at the end of the show, I'll take your guys' questions and I'll read them out and I'll go through them with you guys. The Phoenix Suns absolutely annihilated the New Orleans Pelicans on Tuesday night. The Phoenix Suns absolutely annihilated the New Orleans Pelicans on Monday night. My apologies. That game on Monday, yes, Grayson Allen was awesome. Yes, Royce O'Neal was awesome. Yes, Devin Booker was just good enough because he didn't have to do everything. Colin Gillespie came off the bench and was fiery early. There was a lot of reasons why the Suns won that game. But I've heard a lot of people say, well, those are the New Orleans Pelicans. You should win that game. And my trump card I would raise to that is, yeah, absolutely, they should beat those teams. However, and this is the big however, good teams win those games. And good teams win games that they should win by a considerable margin. The Suns are not only a good team right now, they're like teetering on a great team right now. Now, again, they are nowhere close to Western Conference Finals contenders. They are nowhere close to a Western Conference semi-contenders, NBA contenders. They are none of those things. But they are teetering on the brink of just a flat-out playoff team this year. And you saw it on Monday night. Because when they played the New Orleans Pelicans on Monday night, that was a separation game. And what I mean by that is, sure, you could divide the NBA up into, elite tier, great tier, good tier, bad tier. But just to make it easier, you can divide the NBA up into 3 different tiers. Elite or great, playoff teams, garbage of the NBA. Play-ins, garbage. The Suns have separated from the garbage of the NBA on Monday night. Now, they could go back to that. This isn't me graduating them for good. But when you walk into a game on Monday night and beat the hell out of a New Orleans Pelicans team, it was never close. I even tweeted out, the Suns are kind of playing with their food a little bit in the first quarter. They were still up 29-22. But there was never a doubt, even in that tweet I said, but they'll figure it out and they'll blow out this team. Here's an insane statistic for you. The Phoenix Suns have been up 18 plus points in 5 of their last 6 games. Not only are they up that much, but they're 5-0 in those games. So they're getting up 18 plus points on teams. And they're winning those games. They're not surrendering those leads. And on the contrary, when the Suns get down big against teams surrender those leads. Suns got down by 20 plus points against the Sacramento Kings, and they came back and beat them. That's what the Suns are doing right now. They are separating into the good tier of the NBA. And that separation is so necessary during a rebuild because it's not about championships. It's not about division titles. Hell, it's not even about winning a playoff series. It's about seeing consistent growth. Now, I'm not into this just have fun thing this year. I'm not really interested in that. I'm interested in how do the Suns get from where they were at the beginning of the season to one of the best teams in the NBA. Yeah, I'm having fun, but winning is fun. Ask me again in 2 months if the Suns are still hovering around 500. I'll be having more fun than I was last year, but considerably less fun than I am now. But where is the progression? How do they become a bad team all the way to a contender? These steps matter. Because if the Suns don't continuously make steps during the regular season, they're not going to go into the offseason and say we're a player away. In fact, what they're going to say is, should we trade our best player away? But the Pelicans game for the Suns was a separation moment. That was them saying, we are not with the Wizards and the Hornets and the Pelicans and the Kings, we are on a different tier than you. That's not me saying that they're going to now be NBA contenders or Western Conference Finals contenders. That's me simply saying you're seeing the growth that you needed to see from this Phoenix Suns team. And they're vibrant, and the vibes are good, and they enjoy playing with each other, and they play hard, and they've been up 18 points at minimum in 5 of their last 6 games, and they've won all those games that they're up by that much. So they're winning these games, they're getting up big, and they're not surrendering leads, and Devin Booker doesn't have to play 45 minutes a night to keep those leads like they had to do last year, and those are what's most important. But here's the other thing. I put out a tweet, and this is me, right? I love putting out tweets during games because it's like a mental notebook for me. I can go back to and say, oh, hey, how did I feel at 7:59 p.m. when the Suns were up by 20 points? And then how did I feel at 8:35 a.m. or 8:35 p.m. when the Suns are only up by 5 points? What are my instant reactions here? Recently, a lot of my stuff on social media has been getting a lot of play, so I appreciate that. And if you want to get in on the conversation, follow me at Ben Garcia Show. But I put something out there that said Royce O'Neal and Grayson Allen are playing themselves into really nice trade packages for the Phoenix Suns if they decide to go down that route. Now, it would be hard to trade them. But if someone offers you a big deal for those guys, you would have to take it. And the Suns could replenish their draft stock. I didn't think that was a crazy take. I don't like to live in la-la land. I don't like to live in make-believe land. I put out something on Royce O'Neal and Grayson Allen potentially getting traded because the Suns told me they were shopping those guys during the offseason. The Suns told you what they thought of those guys during the offseason. Now, that might change, but the moral of the story is let's not live in make-believe land. The Suns are not title contenders. They're not Western Conference Finals contenders. They're not a player away. I think it is much more likely the Suns are trading players away at the deadline than they are adding players because they have no picks to trade. Unless they're trading myself and everyone's firstborn to bring in another player here, they're stuck with what they're stuck with. And because the Suns want to put a running mate next to Devin Booker, whether it's Jalen Green or someone else, they could do that by trading away Grayson Allen or Royce O'Neal. Now, I haven't once advocated for doing it, but if you got 2 first-round picks for Grayson Allen in a deal, Kyle Kuzma style years ago, or a first-round pick for Royce O'Neal, yeah, I'd do it. Again, let's not live in make-believe land. Royce O'Neal is 32 years old. How much longer does he have being this good? Grayson Allen is 30 years old and on a bigger contract. Towards the end of this deal, he will be making $20 million a year. Yeah, they're good players, but that's not the point. This is exactly where the Phoenix Suns would want to be. At the beginning of the season, the Suns didn't have options. They were rolling it out with this team and crossing their fingers. So the fact that when I mention Grayson Allen and Royce O'Neal are playing themselves into big trade packages for the Suns if they decide to go down that route and replenish their draft capital and maybe use that draft capital that they get on those guys to go get the next running mate to Devin Booker, that is a great place to be. At the beginning of the year, when they tried to trade those two guys in the offseason, the phone calls were not getting returned. Now the Suns are getting phone calls and they're saying, yeah, you know what? We'll talk to you later. We'll see how we feel. The Suns, for the first time, have options, and options aren't a bad thing. They can trade those players or they can keep those players. I don't have a problem with either one. But if Oklahoma City or a team with a lot of draft capital trying to make yet another playoff push, championship push, calls the Suns and says, we'll give you a first-round pick for Royce O'Neal, we'll give you a first-round pick for 32-year-old Royce O'Neal, or we'll give you 2 first-round picks for 30-year-old Grayson Allen, if you don't think they're not doing that, I'm sorry, I can't go with you to make-believe land. Because this Suns team doesn't have any draft capital. And they don't have any picks to trade. And the way that the Suns could sell it is, we can use these picks to go get the next disgruntled star and bring them to Phoenix. Or, let's try our luck in the draft. We think we did well with Ryan Dunn. We think we did well in Kamal Malawach and Rasheer Fleming. Let's go try our luck there. But it's not a bad thing that now the calls will come in for Grayson Allen and Royce O'Neal. On the contrary, it's an amazing thing. Before, you had no suitors for those guys. And now people will be outside the door, banging on the door, begging to let them trade for those players. And you could potentially name your price. And it could be a ticket out of no man's land where you're this solid team who can't win a championship, but can't tank because they have no picks. You can get some picks back. And like I like Grayson and I like Royce O'Neal. But it's not like you have to find the next Devin Booker. You got to find the next 3-and-D wings. And the ages on those guys don't match up the timeline of the Suns. But regardless, none of that matters. This is a great spot for the Suns to be in. They're winning games. They're going to get calls on players, and they're going to have options. And options are never a bad thing. Ever. Okay. That'll do it for me today. I saw some questions at the top of the page, so I'll go quickly through these. Good morning, all. I'd like to see some changes with the Cardinals. If not the head coach, at least the coordinators. But I have to say, I disagree with your take. I would move Royce, especially for a power forward or first-round picks. You're not going to get first-round picks for Royce. He's too old. But I'd definitely trade him for a 1. Brian, I love the thumbnail. Thanks, man. I do everything on my own, so I appreciate it. Agreed something has changed for the Cardinals. 100% press conferences are a waste of time. You don't got to tell me twice. I learned that at a very early age. Plus, no one cares. Like, everyone's going to put the clips up themselves. Like, if I put up a clip, no one cares. We have 0 running game. It's completely collapsed the system. Absolutely, Steven. Good to see you in here, man. Appreciate you. My concern is regardless. I think that's it. Oh, wait. Do you think established head coaches would want to come to Arizona? When's the last time we got a head coach with experience? Bruce Arians was an interim head coach, but I don't count that. Well, he also did win Coach of the Year. So that is coaching experience. But I think Mike McCarthy would come here. And every time I say that, people are like, ugh, gross, Mike McCarthy. I'm like, he won 11-5, 11-5, 11-5 with the Dallas Cowboys and won a Super Bowl with the Green Bay Packers. Like, he can coach, and maybe that's what you need. Maybe you need experience. Key point, Ben, the Suns team is a team, not a group of mercenaries. Maybe Yada's a difference. Okay, cool. Trade makes sense if we can get younger. If we can develop the young players, that's a big one too. That is a big one too. All right, guys. Appreciate you guys being here. I'll be here on Friday at 8 a.m. breaking all things Arizona sports down. Appreciate you guys being here. And I